Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we ended up doing a couple Ordos missions, and we'll do the last one available for right now. And that's just gonna be an Ordos Xenos. We're gonna be spreading out our progress a little bit, but whatever. Ugh. Whatever, we'll do it. I'm stupid and like to challenge myself. How bad can we make this? No inoculators. Okay, this is really gonna suck. Okay, let's do it.
Only corruption lies beyond the veil. There is nothing but suffering and death beneath the stars.
So, you know what today is? It's lore time! I was sitting there trying to figure out what I wanted to cover, and I realized something we've seen in this game, but I've never actually gone over, is the Helbrute. The Helbrute is essentially a Chaos Dreadnought, but corrupted, more than normal. Tried to heal, but I can't. I'm stupid. I'm gonna die. This is not a good sign. But the Helbrute, effectively, they're, for the most part, the pilot is fused into the Dreadnought, as opposed to a standard Dreadnought where the pilot, their body can actually be taken out, because there's like almost a casket they're placed in. Inside of Helbrutes, you usually can't. You're just kind of stuck. Unfortunate, but that's kind of how it goes. That's what happens when you join Chaos. But their loadouts are typically about the same as a standard Dreadnought. You know, they are still a Dreadnought at the end of the day. The different thing, it's really only unique to the Thousand Suns, is the fact that they can't easily make new Dreadnoughts, and by extension new Helbrutes, because of their Rubric Marines. Their original recruits, or their original members, because they're all essentially a spirit trapped in a suit of armor, like Alphonse Elric in Full Metal Alchemist, they don't have enough of a physical form to be put in, nor do they have enough spiritual matter, I guess is the way they're described, to do it. So what they have to do is actually trick new recruits and be like, hey, yeah, well, you'll get tons of power and knowledge and all this stuff. You just gotta get into the really creepy robo-exosuit. Why nobody else is in it? Don't ask the question, just get inside. And then they get inside, and they go crazy. Because, you know, a Helbrute isn't just crazy, it's advanced crazy. But as a result, you also can't just, at least with Thousand Suns, they can't just, like, grab a guy and toss him in. What they do is a ritual that effectively incinerates them until their nerve endings, a little bit of meat, and charred bone. Then they're tossed into an amniotic sac to preserve them, toss it into the Dreadnought and then Helbrute, and then they pilot that. And they're absolutely insane at that point after being, you know, ritualized. And then because, you know, this is also true with regular Dreadnoughts, most of the pilots are crazy. You know, nobody becomes a Dreadnought willingly. It's always been, regardless of the side, a thing where, oh, this guy's really good, and he can't fight anymore, his legs don't work right, so we're just gonna shove him into this thing so he can keep fighting. And that's what happens. So they would have to take these guys out of the Thousand Suns Helbrute, and then they would keep them in a warded sack and storage area where demons would attempt to get at them, but they never would be able to successfully get at them, so they would just be further driven insane. Which at a certain point you gotta wonder, how crazy can you get? Really. Like, at a certain point your insanity is just raw insanity. You know, this is my question when it comes to lore is, at what point are these guys not worth the effort? Or do you just drop them somewhere alone? Because if this guy is going crazy and absolutely just swinging on everyone, you can't have guys fighting next to him. He's just going to wall up his friends too. So you have to, at some point, say, forget it, we're just going to hot drop them in someplace and we'll put everybody else down elsewhere. Or you have to say, okay, this pilot has to go bye-bye. He is too far gone. And that's something lore-wise isn't really explained. That said, Space Marines seem to have better mental faculties. I mean, look at... A prime example is there was one... I had mentioned him before in lore. There was one Emperor's Children Dreadnought left on, I think, Istvan 3, Istvan 4, I think it's 4. But he had survived I believe it was the Drop Site Massacre. And as a result, he had waited millennia, the only person on that planet, essentially living in a graveyard of his brethren. And he had a beacon to lure Fulgrim, lured Fulgrim in and obliterated himself and Fulgrim by not really obliterated him, but at least hurt him, by setting off a virus bomb, killing the Dreadnought, and then just wounding Fulgrim. And you gotta think, that was at least 10,000 years. Your average person goes crazy in far less time when they're isolated. So if we use that as a rough metric, we know they're at least somewhat durable and mentally... I guess I have good mental fortitude. So I guess the question then becomes, is the insanity they gain more of a drip feed of insanity compared to what a normal human would endure? Or do they somehow know how to plumb the depths of greater insanity, and we're just looking at your standard run-of-the-mill grimdark gets goofy kind of situation? You know, like I said, not normal insanity, advanced insanity. Just like SpongeBob with the advanced darkness. I always thought there was kind of a limit to insanity, and then, you know, you hit a point and it's just like, yep, he's crazy, moving on. But yeah, that's Helbrutes for you. They're honestly, they make sense as like, hey, this is the logical progression of chaos corruption. But they also feel kind of dumb because they're just dreadnoughts. And they also don't have the patterns. You know, we don't have Dredeos or all the other kinds of dreadnoughts. I actually can pull that up quick, because there is a lot of dreadnought patterns. There is Ferrum Furnace, Contemptor, Sonic, Berserker, Leviathan, Dredeo, and then just like normal ones. But you have all those, and then they all just kind of, I guess, homogenize into just Helbrute. Which is a little bit of a bummer. I think that's another situation, like with last episode, where I think you could start having some faction variants pop up. And it wouldn't be completely out of, like, left field to be like, hey, here's more of a Nurgly kind. You know, give it... Because there's, if I remember right, there's like a flamer, but it shoots pus. Because everything Nurgly has to be pus. Or some stream of corruption. You could have that, but a big one. On a Nurgly Helbrute or Nurgly Dreadnought. Or things like that. Or what you do, if you want to be real ambitious, is you allow certain demon body parts on them. Like a Helbrute for Khorne might be able to get Bloodthirster wings and fly. You know, little things where it's like, hey, these are so infused with demonic energy that literally demonic parts are showing up. It isn't just, oh, they're slightly warped looking and weird. It's full on like, whoa, this is getting out of hand. I feel like that's kind of... It's a safe route because those parts are already kind of balanced. And lore-wise, it fits. You know, these things would kind of go together hand in hand. That's... I was about to say that's kind of a meaty chaos spawn, but not really. But then you could get some real interesting designs on, you know, faction-specific Helbrutes. You could bring back, like, dirge collars and stuff like that and put them on a Slaaneshi Helbrute. Honestly, I'd love that. I'd love for some AoE centered on the user, things like that, and be able to run them into a group like Termagants and just liquefy them with sonic energy. Now I'm just thinking how to do Tzeentch. It just boils back down to either they have to be part caster or warp flamethrower. I mean, they could have like an autocannon that does the like warp plasma bolts that the Rubric Marines get. You could kinda do that. I mean, it would work entirely. It's fitting within their design, and in the end it boils down to balance. That is the inevitable part here, is anything that can be used or is written in lore and is converted to tabletop has to balance out some way. Gotta say, this fight's going a lot better than I expected. I'm so far off from getting the no self-damage when it extreme, like, imperiled warp heat or whatever it is. Because I'd like to reach that so I can use the... There's one that gives you like 20% lifesteal well at that point, and I would love to just sit there. I would rebuild my character so that I'm not all AoEs, and then just keep myself peeked out using an ability to hit guys. I was about to say, I wish the enemy summon could go past champion and be like a boss demon, but then that would really screw with balance, because then you could, in theory, farm enemies by just keeping your warp heat high. Because I have a thing that gives me actually improved odds of getting beneficial warp effects, so like the little orbs, as opposed to just all bad. And you could potentially just turn that off, get continual spawns, and just beat them down. But I actually don't pay attention to see if they give you XP, or even if they drop loot. Because if they don't, that kind of balances itself out. But at the same time, fighting them is a resource expenditure. I was just thinking about it. I'd mentioned it before, but I wish there was a... This would work. I think I'd mentioned even as an option for Tzeentch. Is a Helldrake. The flying demon vehicles that look like dragons. But you have one as like an attack helicopter equivalent. So it kind of just hovers and can breathe fire and grab guys and do whatever. You know, do flyby attacks and stuff. That would be really cool. Kind of surprised we don't have anything like that. Especially because even if you didn't want to make it a Tzeentch exclusive, you could give that to everyone, and everyone can have their own version very easily. Considering the variation would just be vehicle, or like, yeah, vehicle weapons. You know, you could have a Nurgle one that is essentially like a bomber equivalent, dropping plague bombs. See, the problem with Khorne, I was gonna say, you could have like a gun that shoots bone, but they just shoot skulls. I mean, it could just be a skull cannon. Or it could literally just be like the Helldrake opens its mouth and spews out a skull at someone. It's all within lore to a degree. Man, this run has had a lot of demon spawns. More than I remember last time. Might just be me. Oh, I'm not liking the look of that. Yeah, I thought that was a Wraith Lord. Well, time to just max out my warp heat. I mean, that stun mine worked out perfect. I also love how the stun mines are incredibly dangerous. I like to imagine they're actually just like full-on fragmentation mines. And they're just like, yeah, they're stun mines. You see, when your leg gets blown off, you're stunned, and you don't know what to do, so you can be dealt with. It's just a fancier way of dealing with things. Hang on, do I have a chance of demon spawn on kill? I'm really starting to think that, because some of these plague ridden are just popping out of nowhere. And it's really starting to get the old noggin jogging here. We didn't even deal with him. I mean, thankfully we dealt with all the other guys. Get my health back up a bit. Oh, wow, he just charged me. That's cool. Don't know why there's just 2 Plaguerin there, but I have to bait them out and get rid of them. Yeah, 1 rocket takes half my health. And I'm waiting on the cooldown because if I didn't have the cooldown right now, I could use my AoE and that gives me health regen. I'm just getting flashbacks from the last, the last missions I did as my assassin, where I had like the 300% damage suffering, and one mission would take me like 40 minutes to complete. Oh, he's almost down. I'm at max warp heat, though. Come on, let me place my mines. There.
The enemies of the Imperium failed miserably.
That took far longer than I wanted that fight to take. God. At least we get the chest. I didn't see anything of value in that. Wow, that was a whole lot of nothing. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.